What is going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? I am doing this for the first time on the YouTube lives. And so if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, go to YouTube, type in Logan Manzanares and search. And this video will be on there, and hopefully a bunch of other videos will be on there as well. So without further ado, let's go and start doing a little Q&A action today. But before we dive into the Q&A, if you are new here, my name is Logan Manzanares. I'm a business owner, business professional. I've transformed well over 2,000 people's lives through this little thing we call health and fitness, a real estate investor, a husband and father, and one of the most grateful people on this planet. And today we have questions, and I might have some answers for you. So before I dive into the questions, if you do have questions, you can drop them right here in this chat. You can drop them on Facebook. You can drop them on Instagram. Just follow Logan Manzanares. I also have a podcast as well, the Wealthy Body Podcast. If you want to drop questions, drop them, and then maybe get some answers. So without further ado, let's dive into our very, very, very first question. First one is it possible for someone to lose inches, but the weight is staying on? Great question, right? And the answer to that is, of course, it's possible. However, is it common? No. Therein lies the truth, right? And so a lot of people, especially when they first get started, they're like, man, I feel like I'm losing inches, I'm not really losing weight. The reality is most likely you're actually probably not, right? Unless you're just packing on a ton of muscle, right? Which again could potentially happen. That's why it's like it could happen, but normally it doesn't happen. So with that being said, if you're in this position where you're losing, where you're not losing weight, but you're potentially losing inches, and so how this can happen is, well, you can gain muscle, and obviously when it comes to the scale weight, it's not just fat. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, when you hop on a scale, when the number says 205 pounds, it doesn't mean you're 205 pounds of fat, right? Now there's a portion of that is fat, but you're not all fat. And in fact, on the very next day when you hop on the scale and it says 204 pounds, you indeed did not lose a pound of fat, you lost a pound. Right, and that pound could have come from tissue. It really could. It could have came from muscle. You don't want to lose muscle. It could have came from fat. You do want to lose fat. Most likely, it probably just came from water. It means that you pissed it out, or you pooped it out, right? Or you sweated it out. You dehydrated it out, right? That's like those day-to-day fluctuations. That's what's happening on a day-to-day basis when you're losing quote-unquote weight. Tissue loss happens much over a longer period of time, right? And so that being said, it is possible for you to actually lose inches, and that means see your fat melt away and your weight stay the same. However, it is not very common unless you are actually pretty lean already. Outside of that, most likely, in order for you to actually see progress, you're actually going to see the scale go down. Unless you're super light, unless you're a light female. This is the only other instance I've seen this is where you're a lighter female, probably, again, and I have to give an actual number range, but let's just say lighter female, you weigh in that 110, 115, 120 pound range, or you'd be a little heavier and a little bit taller as well. But that's generally what I've seen it from a coaching standpoint is that I'll actually have clients who actually will, their bodies will change immensely, but their weight won't change a ton. With that being said, you will lose some body weight because ultimately, in order for you to lose fat, unless you're going to replace all that with muscle, you will actually lose some weight. So hopefully that answers your question. It is possible, but for you, if you're just getting started and let's say you have 40, 50 pounds to lose, by golly, you should be losing some freaking weight, right? Okay, so that's what you should be doing. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the next question. When does drinking water get dangerous? I am led to believe that I should be drinking at least a half ounce of water per 1 pound in weight. So I weigh 306 pounds, which means I need to eat 153 fluid ounces of water per day, every day. Great question. Drinking water is very dangerous. Do you know more people die from water than they die from COVID every single year? Did you know that? Right? Things like drowning, right? Drowning is a big cause of death. Too much of anything is a bad thing, right? And so drinking too much water, it actually can be dangerous. And so let me give you a little example of how this can be dangerous. So I did a cut. Man, so the photo shoot was on March 9th, or March 6th. So that was a month and a half, or almost 2 months ago. I did a photo shoot, and I wanted to always do this water cut, right? So I have a coach, and we dieted down. And when we got to the last couple of days, he wanted me to do a water load. And so what water loading is that you essentially drink as much freaking water as you possibly can for 3 or 4 days. And then you basically cut water off, and you basically just start to pee, and your body it basically just sheds all your weight, so you look as lean and as dry as you possibly can on photo shoot day. Well, to put in perspective, so if you are, so in this question was, if you weigh 306 pounds, you should drink 150 ounces of water every single day. So I at the time weighed 180 pounds, a little less than almost 175 pounds, and for 3 days I drank almost 500 ounces of water per day. Right now, that was dangerous. Like, it sucked. It was atrocious. It was hard. It was uncomfortable. It was one of the most miserable things I've ever gone through in my life. And you know what? In fact, it was dangerous because I myself am a diabetic, and I actually ended up passing out because of that. Like, it was crazy, right? It was insane. So water actually can be very dangerous. So like I don't like, it truly can be, like, too much of anything can actually be a bad thing. With that being said, half ounce of water. Now, like, how much, like, you believe how much water you should be drinking, like, I don't know if there actually is a right or wrong number. This is not something that I actually like directly coach my clients on, because ultimately it doesn't matter, to the point where, like, paying attention to how much water we're drinking is not going to, in fact, change how much fat you're losing. Will it change your body weight on a day-to-day basis? Of course, right? Because the more water you drink, it'll help move things around, and there's lots of things that water can provide. However, for actual tissue loss, fat loss, things that you're going for, it doesn't actually make a big difference besides you being thirsty. Okay, that's really it. And if you're getting backed up and you're not pooping enough, water and movement and exercise. I don't say movement like bowel movement. Water and exercise movement are the best way to keep bowel movements consistent. So outside of that, it really doesn't matter. So with that being said, let's just use this as an example though. So half pound or a half ounce of water per body weight. So that means you'd be drinking 153 ounces of water per day. That seems like and that seems like it's a lot. It's really not. So like this right here, if you're watching this, this is 40 ounces. This is 40 ounces. That would be about 3 of these. And I drink probably 4 to 5 of these every single day. Will you be peeing a lot? Sure, you're gonna pee some, right? But ultimately, 150 ounces, that's actually a pretty reasonable amount of water to drink every single day. You should carry these around, and then as soon as you finish it, you should fill it up. That's it. It's really simple. So that being said, water is not going to be one of the data points or the main metrics that you track, because it honestly just doesn't play that big a role in you actually losing tissue, which is the real goal. Like, do you want to just lose water, or do you want to actually lose fat? Okay, cool. So let me say, I'm not going to touch on this anymore, but I do want to emphasize that it actually can be dangerous to drink too much water. Again, you could drown. You could also pass out from heavy loads of water. But most importantly, it's not going to really affect your weight loss too significantly, unless the fact that you just are so backed up because you haven't pooped for days that you need to drink some more water to get everything moving out. So without further ado, let's move to our final question, question number 3. Can you eat too much protein? I've been using the CarbMaster app, and it says I'm eating too much protein. By golly, why are you eating so much protein? What is wrong with you? Don't you know that protein is bad for you? It could kill your kidneys, it could kill your life, it could kill you just like water could. Protein and water, like 2 killers that we have on this call today. It's insane. I don't know how to eat less protein and keep in my carb count. Well, it's pretty simple. Eat less protein and keep your carbs the same. I don't know. It seems so simple, right? Well, let's answer this. Be serious. You actually can't eat too much protein. And in fact, when I first started getting coaching for myself, I started getting coaching with Dr. Kashey. And so if you guys know Dr. Kashey is probably one of the smartest people on the freaking planet, like literally like a freaking genius. And so when I started working with Dr. Kashey, I was eating like 450 grams of protein. I remember looking at my logs of my food almost 3 years ago now, and looking at how much protein I was eating, and it was insane. It was, like I said, over 400 grams of protein every single day. And so I think most people think that you only get fat off carbs, right? Or you only get fat off fat. But I'll tell you what, I got fat off protein. So it can happen, right? And so when you're thinking you eat too much protein, of course you eat too much protein. You can also eat too many carbs. You can also eat too much fat. Too much of anything is in fact too much. You just said it, right? Too much. And so with that being said, how do you eat less protein? By golly, you literally just eat less protein. And so number one, you have to track it. So like I said, I was eating 400 grams. Now, just as a reference point, I eat 200. I'm eating 200 grams. That's where our numbers are currently. That's half what I was eating before. And so again, your numbers are going to be different based on where you're at, like what phase you're in, your skill level, how long you've been doing this for, all that cool stuff, right? Your body weight. However, if you want to eat less protein, it's really simple. You literally just eat less protein. So if you're eating 400 grams, you eat 200 grams, right? And if you look at it from more of a practical standpoint, let's say that you have on all your protein sources, let's use a really simple analogy. Let's just say you have chicken for each of your sources. And let's say that for each of your meals, so you're eating 3 meals a day, let's say you're eating 8 ounces of chicken per those meals. Well, you know what? How you can do? You can eat less protein. You can eat 6. Oh my golly! You can eat 5. You can eat 4 ounces of chicken for each of those meals. And by golly, if you have a carb source like vegetables, you have a carb source like Starburst or Twizzlers, by golly, you can just keep those the same, and you can just adjust how much protein / chicken / turkey / steak / whatever your protein source is, cottage cheese. And you can keep your carbs exactly the same. It's really that simple. So hopefully that made sense to you. It really becomes easy. So basically, you just got to track your stuff, know your numbers, know how much you're putting in your body, and by simply eating less of it. And that's really the value of eating single ingredient foods. Is that you can literally have a protein source, you can have a carb source, and you can have fat sources. And when you're able to say, I want to eat less protein, well, eat less of that protein source. If you want to say you want to eat more or less carbs, eat more of that lesser. Eat that carb source, and fat, same thing. Okay, so that's the value of eating single ingredient foods. So hopefully that message really, hopefully that made sense. So that's all I got for you today. Those are 3 questions. So happy Wednesday. Again, if you have questions, I might have some answers. And if you do have questions, again, you can drop them here on the YouTubes. You can drop them on Facebook. You can drop them inside the Wealthy Body podcast, wherever you can find us, and you get your questions answered. So without further ado, my name is Logan Manzanares, and I'm out. Bye.